you're doing like you're freelancing, whatever, it's still a business. You need to have like a goal. You need to have like a solid point how you wanna uh, get those clients, right? Whether it's inbound, outbound, or whatever, you need to have like a solid strategy on how you want to approach that. Social, whatever, it's a game in the end. It's a long game.
Hello and welcome to episode 110 of Webflail. I'm your host, Jack, your failure connoisseur, and today we have the multi-talented Bimo Tri joining us from Jakarta, Indonesia. Bimo is the founder of Studio BAMOJ, where he's blending cutting-edge design with Webflow development to create stunning web experiences from a wide range of industries, from luxury brands to NFTs. Now, this guy's website, go check it out, BAMOJ, so that's BAMOJ.com, is insane. And look at the work there. It's really top dollar. I first came across his work because he shared it on Twitter, the great Tweetski, the great X, as it's now actually called. And you see how he blends Webflow GSAP animations together in a way that I don't think a lot of people in the Webflow space are doing. He's an awards judge, he's a professional Webflow partner, and he's pushing the boundaries of what you can do with some spectacular GSAP, as I mentioned. In today's episode, though, we'll be diving into some of Bimo's failures. This isn't all awards and incredible projects. He's had to struggle to get to this place. We'll talk about failure number 1, failing his first online business of dropshipping. 2, failing to see client red flags and not realizing that it's not okay to be treated like shit. And 3, failing to understand that freelancing/running a studio is a business, even if you are a solo studio founder. Bimo, welcome to Webflow podcast.
Yo, dude, thanks for having me. That was quite an intro, actually. That was wild. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me.
You are someone that I've been trying to get on the podcast for the longest time. We just talked before this episode about messaging you a year ago.
Yeah, it's been a year. It's literally been a year.
So if anyone's listening to this and wants him to be involved in something, you better message now for 2025 because this is a busy man. He's doing a hell of a lot of projects. But tell us, before we get into all that, what is your relationship with failure?
Oh, dude, I'm like I said, that's probably you have already messaged this, but I've been failing like multiple times. Like it's just not the design. I've been, but yeah, my relationship with failure is that I used to hate being kind of failure, but right now I'm kind of embracing it and seeing it as an opportunity almost. Because there is always something that you learn in your failure, quote unquote. And yeah, I come to kind of loving it right now because I know that if I fail, there's something that I'm doing. I know that I'm learning something from this whatever fail it was, like even if it's like the smallest stuff, that was a
Okay,
learning growth.
it's interesting how often successful Webflowers come on this podcast and say, I used to hate failing, but now I embrace it. So what changed?
The mindset, literally the mindset, it's almost like it's super cheesy, but the way I perceive fail right now, as a solo studio owner or maybe a freelancer, it's just okay. I'm failing this, whatever it is. I'm learning something, but back then I was just like this resentment of like I'm failing this. I'm not worthy on all this stuff floating, and all that type of stuff. But the change is probably is the mindset. I mean, the older you get, just the more wise you become. I guess you become new, kind of like a new identity of you. I guess. But
Love
yeah,
that. Yeah, I feel like it's like attrition, maybe. It's like,
mm,
you fail and you're like, the first time you fail, it's like the first heartbreak, the first client
yeah,
project that goes terrible. You're like, I'm going to die. I'm a piece of shit.
yeah.
this is awful. And why the hell
Yeah,
does anyone do this? I'm going to go back and get a full-time job because this whole
yeah,
freelancing thing is not for me. But then maybe you're like, you know what? You talk to some other people who are a bit more experienced than you, and they say, hey, this type of thing might happen to you multiple times during your career, regardless of where you're at in your journey. And you're like, okay, I'll
mm,
try
mm,
this again. And you've learned a little bit from the last time. So maybe you write down your systems and your processes. Maybe you
yeah,
nail
yeah,
down what you're trying to do, who you're trying to go after client wise. And
mm.
bit by bit, you actually become a better version of you. And I'm looking at you
Yeah.
now, and I think you are someone that's, I've been following for a little while, and the designs you've done have got better and better. I'm
Mm,
sure the client process has got better and better to get to
yeah,
those results. Maybe
yeah,
you're
yeah,
just a
yeah.
little bit better at design, a little bit better at development, a little bit better at GSAP,
Mm,
and
mm,
you can probably sell projects better than you ever have because you've done the work before. You know how to sell because you're not even trying to sell. You're just like, yeah, I can do that. I've done that, 20 times for different people.
yeah.
Here's how we do it. Here's the process.
Yeah.
Now, step one, boom, discovery, da 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 da.
Yep.
Have I understood that right? Is that kind of aligned with what you're thinking?
Yeah, dude, exactly. That was exactly like what happened to me as well. I mean, my first project was quite disastrous, of course, like probably most people will experience when they get into the freelancing for the first time, right? And yeah, it's time. Like it's one of my project. I learned something new. Okay, this is not on the scope, but you're doing it, and that's not all right, you know. But you're doing it anyway because you didn't realize that it's not. I mean, you have to build that hours you spend designing or developing for that, and even in the smallest bit. I mean, it depends though. It depends on your relationship first with the client. You know, I mean, if the client is like you like the client as a personal, like they are very friendly. They're maybe paying you always on time. They pay the investors on time and whatever. And you love the project and you don't mind doing that small bits without having getting paid. That's all right. But what happens most of the time is that client um, can abuse that small little window that you give them, that small chances that it's this is all right, but it's like getting out like an endless revisions of small changes, and you're not really that, and you don't realize it's been like 2 months, like insane, right? And you ended up not profiting with from the project, right?
Oh, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. But I mean, okay, let's just hone in on this idea. If you are a freelancer at the start of your journey, listening to this podcast and looking at Bimo's work and thinking, oh my Lord, how do you get to there? You know what? He's probably gone through what you are currently going through.
Oh,
He's probably really
mm,
struggled to get clients. He's probably not been sure what his positioning is. He probably hasn't always had as clear a process as he has now. So do not fear, young Padawan. You need
yeah.
to just carry on walking through those coals of the fire of freelancing, and
Oh
you
yeah.
can also achieve what you want to achieve as a freelancer. Just want to highlight that at the start of this episode. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add,
Yeah.
Bimo?
Yeah, just keep believing in yourself lah. I mean, you have to believe in yourself even when no one else does, really. Even if you like someone like says, "Are you design or something or bad?" Just don't listen. Just trust in your instinct and just keep doing you.
Just keep going. I kind of think freelancing is a little bit like if it's a game of attrition, and
Mm.
it becomes easier and easier the more you do it. And the hardest part of freelancing is right at the start when you're a freelancer, and all you got to
Yeah.
do is hold on, stay in the game, keep sharing the work that you want to get, keep talking to people, keep learning and
Mm.
growing and developing, and it gets
Yeah, it
easier.
is.
But it's just
It is.
about sticking around long enough. Speaking of sticking
Mm.
around long enough, you have been doing freelancing for a while, and you've now got a kind of brand identity as a studio. You've
Mhm.
created BAMOJ, which is obviously
Mhm.
different
Mhm.
from Bimo Tri, your name.
Mm,
Can you just talk me through why you seem to have very much decided I'm going to be a studio,
mm.
even though maybe you're like working solo quite a lot of the time, you might be collaborating with other people, but like talk to me about that decision.
Yeah, this is okay. I did- I think I was like planning to build like a big agency, 30, 50 people, like doing a bunch of crazy
Wow.
stuff, like full scale. But then the more I grow, the more I learn, the more I'm doing more projects, the more I'm seeing like a lot of people, like for example, Grace Walker is great example of being solo. It might probably the best not only for your business, but also for you as individual, right? So I was like, okay, what about I'm just announcing my business, my design business, not as a freelancer, but rather like a small studio. But I have like multiple partners that I can rely on. Like whenever I needed something, like for example, I have partner who is like a full stack creative development from Indonesia. I have like a designer, and I can ask their help, and I can hire them and paying them like well, rather than hiring them like an hourly. I'm just going to um, ask them, and then I and give them the project scope. How are we going to do this? Let's do this together. Like, and let's split the money x how much percent that we agree on, and that's just been how it is. So yeah,
Okay, interesting
yeah,
answer. So it was like initially you were like, you know what? I'm going to build a big agency. And
yeah.
then the more you did this whole journey of freelancing and you started collaborating with people who were solo and you were like, you
Mm,
know what? Actually, maybe I can have a better lifestyle. Maybe I can actually do the creative work that I enjoy doing myself rather
mm,
than managing a
mm,
team of people. Maybe I don't have to lose all my hair because of stress trying to
mm.
get payroll covered every single
Yeah,
month. Was it like
exactly.
an ego thing, do you think, that influenced you at the start? You were like, I'm going to grow. I hear people say, I'm going to grow $1 million agency or whatever.
Oh
Is
yeah.
it an ego thing? Like, why do you think initially that was success to you? And now it sounds like success to you is actually doing more of what you love.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the ego, or maybe I was seeing like a lot of cool, successful agencies on awards on Twitter, on they're killing it. They have like multiple kind of office all over, like across the globe, right? Like
Hmm.
I kind of want to have that, but at the same time, as I'm growing and growing, doing more projects, doing more stuff, when you get to that point to into the quote unquote managing role rather than the doing role, it's kind
Mm.
of like actually taking my happiness from like what's gotten me into the design in the first place. The joy when you discover some random shit. Yeah, like I swear to God, man, like I've just like kind of have happened this quite a lot to me. Like I've moved my mouse accidentally on my Figma, and it's turned out like a fucking cool shape or whatever. Like that kind of
Play.
like the kind of aha moment, that's I
Mm.
don't want to lose. So probably eventually I will move into the like kind of managing role, but I'm still kind of loving like at this moment. Though, at this moment of time, right now, I'm still kind of loving the process of designing, doing the mood boards, doing the development or whatever, just doing all of the animation. I'm still kind of loving all of this process. But yeah, I think I don't know, man. It's just like having like have to stress like managing 30 people. I don't know if it's worth it or not. At least for me, it's not.
Yeah.
But
It ma-
now, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what will happen like in the next like 5 or 10 years,
yeah,
right?
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I think it's
Mm,
healthy to be like never rule anything out. You know that the depending on where you're at in life and what your priorities are at the
mm,
time, things might
mm,
change. But it's interesting this journey that people seem to go on quite consistently on Webflail. They're like, I'm going to
mm.
grow something massive, and then they
Yeah.
start that journey and actually realize
Yeah.
that their like metric for success is revised when they actually start, doing that and
Yeah.
managing people and getting further and further away from the work as they
Yeah.
need to get the work more and more
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it's important to ask at this stage. You are doing design, you're doing development. Talk to me about like how you're approaching client work, and you seem to love all aspects of creating a website, from ideation, design,
Mm-hmm.
development. How are you thinking about that in your studio?
Oh, the very first important step for me is to have clear understanding what is their goal,
Hmm.
what's their core belief as a brand, what separates you from your competitors, what's the this core belief that your brand stands, like what's the differentiation, what's the brand archetype. Like that is super clear and super important for me, because what I'm doing is I'm telling your story, not mine, using my creativity and my quote unquote design skills to amplify that message, so that that message um, getting into your clients, right? So that's the most important part. And then having like clear brief, like super super clear. I even use ChatGPT to help me. Okay, this is too short, too short of a brief from the client. So I use ChatGPT to kind of, okay, help me out. This is very short. Help me understand this brief, and what's a better way to kind of like have this project brief more complete, like from the brand standpoint, the color, whatever. So yeah, that's the very first step. And then I think, what else? The website, the development. Um, I think after I have clear understanding of what the project, of what the goal of the project is, like for example, let's just go for example like a website design and dev. I have to understand like who's the user, the end user, like what's their demography like, what they do look like how old are they even, like do they hang out on social, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and then I do like a little bit of research, like what type of content do they actually consume on a day-to-day basis, just to get some kind of understanding. Okay, this is their preferred type of content that they consume. So I took that as a, like an inspo for me. Okay, like for example, they like luxury brand. They are following this type of big brands like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, whatever, and then using that as like an inspo, and then moving on to the. I rarely do like kind of wireframe, but right now I'm doing it, like just because like having like kind of clear um, structure is quite important for the client. I usually just jump straight into the high fidelity UI, but right now I'm trying myself to like have like at least just a super rough kind of black and white wireframe and sitemap. So I do sitemap and wireframe in one kind of way. So the wireframe is already connected between pages. Like, okay, this is the home page, so I'm connecting this to the about or project or whatever, without creating this separate sitemap by its own. Like they kind of relume type of sitemap where you just kind of like blocks of information, but I'm using the wireframe as also as a sitemap. So so my client will have a better of understanding. Okay, this is like the skeleton of the website, and this pages connected to these pages, and then this information tells a story about this and that, and then jump into the UI, of course, and then the development. It's kind of my process kind of random though, Jack. I mean, sometimes when I'm doing the dev part, I usually browse around quite a lot, and most people are browsing websites kind of like awards just to get inspired or something. I do too sometimes, but what I did was I watched a lot of YouTube. Like, I don't know, like for some reason I love watching kind of like movie title, like an intro of a movie. That was so super cool. Like that motion is has this tension, if you will. Like that's very small part bits of the movies that set the tone for the entire movie. You know what I mean? Like that is super cool. So I watch like a lot of movie trailer, or maybe going to motion design inspiration kind of website. That's quite rare actually. Having like a separate. Uh, I haven't found any good one yet, but I don't know. And then yeah, and then if I get something from doing my my random browsing, I try to apply that to my Webflow build after like everything.
Okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. Too many important points to highlight here. Okay,
Sorry,
one
dude.
thing it's great. It's great, but we just need to highlight some things because I think there's some important things that you said there. One thing that I think a lot of people do when they first start freelancing is they think when someone asks for a website that they should deliver what the client asks for. So a client will be like,
Ooh,
okay, we think this needs to be on the website. We think this. Can you do it for
okay.
us? And
Oh
instead
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
saying why, they'll be like, yes.
Mm, mm,
And actually, a lot of the time, when you ask why, and you do maybe Bimo your process where you ask them who is their ideal client, and they'll say something, and then you can do some research after that, right? And actually,
mm,
like push back and say, you know what, I actually think that maybe having done some research on your target audience, it's interesting to look at how their competitors are approaching this. Have you
yeah.
decided to do something completely different from your competitors intentionally or not? And they
Mm,
might say
mm,
something
mm,
like,
mm, mm.
you know what, Bimo, that's a really good point. We haven't actually thought of that. And
Yeah,
you haven't even done the website yet. You haven't touched design yet.
yeah.
What you are doing is you are just asking them whether their core beliefs are intentional or
Mm-hmm.
not, whether their asks for you are actually the right questions to be asking or not. And that,
Yeah.
my friends, in my opinion, is the difference between someone that is good and great as a freelancer, someone that can push back and say, look, I've done my own research and there's some things that I've found that might be helpful for your business. Because ultimately,
Yep.
they say we need a website, but actually, what they're really trying to do is improve their business and they're trying to
Yeah.
solve a problem through digital design and
Yeah.
development. So
Yeah.
if you can help
Yeah.
them actually tease out that problem, really clarify what the problem is that you're trying to solve, it means that you have their trust through the design and development process in a way that you
Mm,
wouldn't if you were just an executioner of whatever they asked you. And I think that's
mm,
something that's kind of not talked about very much in the Webflow
mm,
space.
mm.
There's a lot of people that are learning how to do animations or whatever it is and just try and do like the hard skills
Yep.
of
Yep. Yep. Yep.
delivering. But actually, I
Yeah.
think there's this bit before that is really vital. The other thing that I want to point out as well that you said that I think is really interesting is not just going to the internet to get inspiration, or like not just going to other websites or award-winning websites to get inspo onto how to do the design and development at your end. Actually, getting it from anywhere that inspires you that might be relevant to help your client achieve the result you want. Like, I think it's so sick that you watch movie trailers and the tension
Yeah.
and the music element and how that impacts it and the pacing and the space
Mm.
between elements and thinking, just
Yep.
like you look at a trailer and you have your heart racing, right? And you're like,
It
why
is.
is my heart racing?
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
has happened
What is
while I'm
that?
watching
Yeah.
this horror movie trailer
Mm.
that makes me
Mm.
want to go and watch this even though I'm scared
Yeah.
by it and the colors and
Oh.
I
Yeah.
think looking at the world like that and how all of these different inputs can influence your designs and development, I think is really, really cool. So
Yeah.
that's my two little takeaways from what you said there.
Yeah. I think it's often overlooked that, especially for beginner that who just starting to freelance, that
Mm.
question at the start that I mentioned, that you have to do that little that little research about your client's audience. You can use that almost to kind of get back to them and give them like a feedback if they give you some kind of like feedback, or they ask about revision. Hey, this is needs to be like this, but you can counter that with that data you've gathered, right? Hey, this is something that I've gathered, but this is not what your audience look like. They expecting this kind of aesthetics, you know. So
Mm.
yeah, I've rarely have like kind of revision in terms of aesthetics, just because of that. Because of I always back that my decision with kind of like not kind of research back on data or something, just based on something that I've gathered like in a short amount of time, like a week or so. But yeah.
Love that. Use data as much as possible to justify the
Mm-hmm.
decisions you're making, because otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
if it's just based on emotion, then your client might be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I like unicorns flying through the website." It's like, how's that relevant
Yeah.
to, your
Yeah. Yeah.
service
Yeah.
offering
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
vacuuming or whatever? Tell
Yeah.
me about failure number one.
Oh, dude.
Failing your first online business with drop shipping. What?
Dropshipping, dude. That was fire back in 2015, 14. I don't know if you've been dabbling into making money online at that time, but I was just like, I don't know what the fuck what I'm doing with my life at that time. I'm failing my college, as probably I've already texted you about that. So I have to make money, you know. But I was basically, long story short, I was looking on the internet how to make money online, and that stuff came out at the first page of YouTube. So I've seen like a lot of influencers that teach how to drop shipping, basically selling stuff from AliExpress, make a Shopify store, and then run the Facebook ads, and then you make money. Sounds simple, right? It does not. Absolutely, you know. I I don't know if I'm taking a course or not. If my memory serves me right, I don't. I just saw a YouTube tutorial about how to set up like a Shopify store. Okay, and then I don't even know what to sell, dude. Like I don't know what's the winning product is at the time. I'm picking out some random stuff from AliExpress that I think that will be sell in the market, and then um, I'm checking out like kind of YouTube videos about how to run Facebook ads for your specific product or whatever. And then yeah, it fails. I mean, it does not fail. I mean, I make quite a good amount of money out of that. Thing I believe I was making. I believe it was right around 300 or $400 a day. My store
Dollars a
on.
day.
Yeah, yeah, but that was on $100 ad spend. But that wasn't a profit though. So yeah, and I had to close that store. But basically, I was making almost 10 grand out of that store with 10% margin of a profit. But then, what happened is that because that was like a product from AliExpress, it was from China, right? Maybe back in the day, the product quality is not that great. I am having like almost all of my customers asking for a refund because the product is shit, dude. I have no kind of power to have like maybe delegating someone to do the QC or
Quality
whatever.
control. Yeah.
Right. Like I don't know what I don't even like I haven't even seen the product in the real world yet. And yet I'm selling those to the people. That's I mean, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's wrong. But yeah, I had to close that because I've ended up losing actually because of that refund, that chargeback, and whatever. But yeah, it was fun though. I'm learning a
That
lot
is
from that.
mad. Okay, so
It
like
is.
you were basically, what product was it?
Oh, you know what? I'm selling baby stuff product, and it's selling like a hot cake, dude. Like
Okay, so this is
women is very impulsive. That's one thing that's for sure, right? Women will buy if it's like you put like a kind of discount, like okay, 60% discount, they will immediately having the urge to buy some stuff, especially for baby stuff like baby bag. If I remember it correctly, it was like a kind of baby bag which has like kind of multiple panels and can do a lot of stuff. I believe it was that. I was selling it for $60. I was buying from AliExpress for like 19 something. So yeah, I'm making quite a lot of profit actually.
Well,
Now that I'm thinking
I
of
guess until you had to send back the money, right? Like you're making
right?
profit until a week later when it
Yeah,
arrives, and then they're like,
yeah, yeah.
"No, I want my money back." That must
Oh
be
yeah. And one
frustrating.
more thing, and the shipping time is crazy. Like some of my customers actually have their product shipped by 2 weeks, and I have some other customers that they are saying that the product wasn't even sent to their address. That's why they are asking for a refund. I mean it's wild. I don't know, but yeah, I mean I learned a lot, and I'm thankful and very very grateful for that experience.
Okay, this is mad. But I guess from there, you were like, you know what? I want to earn money online. And I know that I can earn money online, even if this might not
Mm,
be the way to do it. I guess you learned quite a
hmm.
lot about websites during this period. And
Yes,
you were like, you know what? Design does matter. And like
design
you were
does
kind
matter.
of getting interested in that. Is that kind of how
Mm.
you transitioned into Webflow and freelancing?
Not after dropshipping. After dropshipping, I had to close that store, and then I tried. Okay, what else can I do? Making money online, and then affiliate marketing comes to my mind because I was already have my interest doing affiliate marketing. Okay, basically, you just have to promoting someone else's product, right? And how do I do that? I mean, how do I kind of one selling the product? What is the actual product, and then how to get the customers? Like eventually
Mm.
back then what I was doing, this is where I probably my uh, my entrance into this website world. Back then what I was doing is that I took a course, like a short course on how to do this affiliate marketing, promoting like a lot of software actually. If you know something like ClickFunnels, Lead Pages, they have like a good affiliate uh, affiliate system, and they pay good commission back in the day at least. And then and that in that course I was taught to build a website by basically leveraging an expired domain. So the domain that already been expired and that have been around for like 20 years or 10 or maybe 5 years that are relevant to what you are selling. Why? Because Google, at least back in, I don't know, 2016, 15, that was like kind of like one of the main major factor that your article would get ranked. Okay, so expired domain, and then what am I gonna do with the website? Okay, in that website, um, we build, we make like kind of semi spammy site out of those expired domain, and then just basically generate. This is pre AI. So basically, what I'm doing is that I respond someone else's article about that specific topic, and then generate a bunch, at least a hundreds or if not a thousand of posts, like from one side, and I have three back in the days, and some of them will get ranked just because of that kind of quote unquote expired domains. But yeah, that was just the gist of it. I don't want to get too into details, but yeah, this is how it is. And I make quite good a lot of money though, but it's not an instant. It takes months because SEO takes a while to get ranked. And I don't know, I made probably, I don't know, 10 grand in 8 months, and that was good, I think. And that was the gateway, not the gateway, sorry, the entrance, the kind of an introduction to the design, because then I learned how to develop with WordPress, with a lot of stuff. like web stuff basically. Okay, is that too
Okay,
much?
wait. No, this is helpful. Okay, we went from selling baby rucksacks to creating spammy websites
Yeah,
to then
yeah,
learning, becoming interested
goodness.
in freelancing through
Yeah,
learning like WordPress and how to
yeah,
create
yeah.
websites. That's
Mm.
nuts. So you kind of went a roundabout way to finding about design
Dude,
and
it's
like
been a
doing
journey.
websites. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
wait,
it is.
backtrack though.
It is.
It's people that
It
look
is.
at your website right now might be like, okay, this guy knows about animations and like is clearly really interested in GSAP. What advice would you give to someone learning GSAP? How did you start learning GSAP
Oh
and
yeah.
making websites like you do now? Because they are very different to the spammy websites that I imagine you made.
Oh yeah, of course. Like my introduction to GSAP was actually again because so Timothy Riggs of all people, of course, he's gonna be like the goat of like Webflow developers out there. He used GSAP. Basically, GSAP, what GSAP does is just the same, right? We can move the same thing, and the logic is the same with Webflow interaction. And again, back to your question, if you want to learn, Timothy Ricks, if you're specifically a Webflow developer, you can go to Tim's channel. He has like a lot of
Insane
great.
work. Yeah.
That's how I've gotten into the quote unquote creative development stuff because of that dude, that guy, that the greatest Webflow developers out there. I mean, his stuff is just crazy. It's super, super inspiring.
Is mad, isn't it? And if anyone has been living under a rock as well, Webflow's just acquired GSAP. GSAP will very soon be natively
Yeah,
integrated
yeah,
into Webflow animations,
yeah, yeah.
which is
That
very exciting too. But
wasn't
who?
expecting that
Yeah, I
at
know it
all.
was
To
mad. It was like a curveball at Webflow Conf, right? But I guess
I
like,
swear, I
hey,
swear, man, I swear
I
that I
the
wasn't expecting
excitement
that.
is real. But I mean, if anyone's interested in learning GSAP, go to the Greensock website. There's tons of amazing
Oh yeah,
tutorials and stuff there. Cassie Evans,
mm.
shout out.
Gas Evans.
She also has loads of really good tutorials on the Greensock YouTube. And then obviously
Yep.
Timbuktu Ricks. The guy is amazing. There's loads of really good
Mm.
content that he's done around GSAP and well, pretty much anything in the Webflow, but his GSAP tutorials are great.
Mm-hmm,
Tell
mm-hmm,
me
mm-hmm,
about
mm-hmm.
failure number 2. Failing to see client red flags and not realize that it's not okay.
Okay, that was one of my first two or first project I've done. I don't know if it's like after I'm getting into the Webflow or not,
Mm-hmm.
but I will still remember it like very vividly. I was asked to do like a landing page, pretty creative and pretty fun stuff. But I've not realized that I was getting asked a revision like for almost 2 months. Basically, the site is there. The site is done.
Mm-hmm.
Design took like a kind of less than a week, and then I went to the development, which takes probably a week or even less than a week. And then yeah, we're having this back and forth. Like I did not realize that was a revision to. I was just like, okay, it's okay if client asks like some small stuff. That's why I want to point that out. Like that small stuff. Okay, I kept doing that. Like I
Mm.
don't realize that I was being quote unquote used, and then they kept asking for changes, and I keep doing. I don't know. In my mind, I was just like, I just want to get this fucking over, and then just like send me like the rest of the payment, and that's all. But I then realized I should know that better. I should send. No, sorry. I should have like a contract in place. That was also important. I don't have any contract whatsoever. Basically, what's happening is that it's just that, hey, we want to have like a one landing page, this and that, and that's it. Okay, so I just kind of quote them out loud verbally. Hey, this X amount of dollar, and then they paid like the 50% to just to kick off the project, and then the rest is after the project's done. And then yeah, not having that contract signed in the first place, that was like hell. Like that was super important. And yeah, I mean, you have to have a contract in place before you start any project. I mean, even if it's like whatever, you have to.
Okay, okay. Let's zoom in on some stuff. So what you're saying is you said, "Yeah, I'll do this for you, client," but then
Mm.
you gave them an inch. So they took a mile. They were like, "Oh yeah, and Beamer, can you do
Yeah,
this? Oh, please, it would be so helpful
yeah,
if you could do this." And you're kind of like,
yeah.
"Okay, I'm going to try and be like accommodating." But then
Mm.
there's an avalanche that just keeps coming. It's just
Yeah,
like, can you change this? And because you've set the precedent, because you've said, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, no problem.
yeah.
I'll sort that out.
Oh,
They think, oh,
mm,
what a nice guy. We are going to use him. And then it becomes too much. And it sounds like you didn't have a contract to refer to at the start and say,
yeah,
look, here's what we
yeah,
agreed. And,
yeah.
you know, this isn't really fair. I think, though, it's important to say that there's contradictory advice out there in the Webflow space. I went to
Mm,
Webflow Conf, and Joseph Berry says, if you think you should give 100%, give 200%. Really try and make the
mm,
project as good as it can be.
mm,
And I
mm,
think people confuse trying to make the project as good as it can be with
mm,
I'm going to say yes to every single client request that comes in to try and
mm,
make the client as happy as they can
mm,
possibly be.
mm,
So, can you tell me about, like, you know, I think there's a point where you learn as a freelancer that saying no is actually good for you and good for your client. Pushing back
mm,
and saying no, or saying, why do you need this so quickly? Is there a real rush? Because,
mm.
like, can you tell me about learning to push back, learning to actually protect yourself from scope creep, and also giving your best to make sure you do the best work you can and make the client as happy as possible?
Oh yeah, it's tricky. It's super tricky. At one at one side, we don't want to disappoint them by giving them like an half thought product or whatever, and also we don't want to be on profit because of like the scope
Hmm.
creep or whatever. I think
Hmm.
it's getting back to how, for me at least, how your interaction and relationship to the client in the very first place. If they are good people, yes, you will. I mean, I will, if it's like my client, like my past one or two client, I give them like 200%, honestly, because they're good people. They pay on time. I mean, they ask like a couple of like revision, sure, and I give my 100, even like 150 or 200%. But if it's like there is this like, I guess the more you do freelancing, the more you can sense, almost, you kind of have like a develop this spidey sense that, okay, this is going to be like a fucking scope creep, because they're asking, they like, most of the times, like, at least what happens with me, I mean, to me, is that something that they ask is very, very non-trivial, like something like quite rather small, and then I have to do that. That was like already like a kind of protocol red flag. Okay, this might lead to end up something like, I don't know, and like having like multiple requests. But again, again, with the back to the your relationship with the clients, who is the client? I mean, how your relationship with them? I mean, how your interaction so far, leading up to like this phase of the project, right? That's quite important. I mean, for me, I think that's the kind of the number one indicator to me. Either I want to go like 200% giving them like my all, or just saying, okay, no, this is not good for both of us. Actually, for you and your business, this idea or crap or whatever, this is not making any sense. Let's just not do that. I will say it though. Just going to plain say it rather than like hating whatever you're doing just because you want to accommodate that in changes or whatever, you know.
Okay.
But yeah.
So can I just say back to you what I think I've heard? So,
Mm,
one,
mm,
make sure that you have a clear contract in place in black and white English of
yeah.
how you're going to behave, what the client,
Mm,
how the client's going to
yeah.
behave, and what the expectations
Mm,
are. And just nail
mm,
that down at the start. Get signatures
mm,
down. Even if you're like, I am never going to go to court, like I don't want this contract to like escalate or whatever. It's actually
mm,
just setting the foundations for how you're both going to behave. And
yeah.
then you've got some kind of clear boundaries. The other thing that you said there is over communicate, that you always want to be talking to your client and saying, hey, just so you know, I'm going to do this change now. But if there are
Mm,
more changes on top of this one, I will be charging you an hourly rate
mm,
on top, or I will be
yep.
charging you for this set amount of work. You
Mm,
know, let's talk, let's have another conversation and create a new quote for the
yeah.
next phase of work. But right now, let's focus on what we've agreed in this initial phase and this initial contract. Because you can, you know, you it's not like, no, I'm not going to do that. Fuck off, client.
Mm,
It's actually saying,
mm,
I hear you. I know that you've got this request. Let's just
yeah.
focus on doing that part of the request in the next phase,
Mm,
maybe. So you're just
mm,
saying, I hear you, I'm
mm,
understanding you, I'm validating you, but
yeah.
I'm not going to do that work now, and I'm not going to do that work for free. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, it sounds like what you're saying is, in when you say I'm going to talk to them in plain English, you're saying I don't want them to be confused at what I will accept and what I won't accept, you know. But you're also
Mm,
saying it's not a hard no, it's a hard no for free right now.
mm.
It's you're
Yeah.
saying I will do
Yeah.
this if we schedule that in, and you know, if there's, but I'm going to do that little thing now, but
Mm,
just so you know, in
yeah.
the
Yeah.
future, if you come to me with more requests, I will charge for that. And let's
Yeah.
schedule in a call to discuss how we can move forward with stage two. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, I think it's just
Exactly.
being a little bit diplomatic and making sure that you're giving them the best service. You're not getting bent over. Ooh, that's definitely not the right thing to say. Sorry. And
Yeah.
you are making sure that you're protecting your boundaries, because otherwise you can get walked over as a freelancer. And I think you learn this in
Yeah.
time. You know, the amount of
Yeah.
times I have said, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you, client. And then I get off the Zoom call and I curl up in a little ball and I think, you know, I don't know if freelancing's for me. You know, I don't think I can
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then I get off the call and I think, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, you know, if you can give yourself a bit of time and
Yeah,
take a
or what the
beat,
fuck am I doing this? Like after saying yes to the client, like how? Why am I
yeah.
saying yes?
Why am I
Right?
saying I do that as well? It's like, you know, that song where it's like, my mind's telling me no, but my body, you know, it's like that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
before I sing any more to you, tell me about failure number 3.
Mm.
Failing to understand that freelancing or running a solo studio is a business.
It is a business. Yeah, it's a business in the actual sense. What we are on, whatever you're doing, like you're freelancing, whatever, it's still a business. You need to have like a goal. You need to have like a solid point. How you wanna uh, get those clients, right? Whether it's inbound, outbound, or whatever, you need to have like a solid strategy on how you want to approach that. Social, whatever, it's a game in the end. It's a long game, of course, and it's not just oh, I made this concept and you post it on social and then you get a client and then that's done. No, you need to have kind of better understanding. Let's say you get a project, and that project um, might cost like whatever, like $3,000, but you're doing it for like 4 months, right? That's, for me at least, that's not ideal, right? I mean, $3,000, if you divided that by four, if you're doing it for 4 months, that's less than 1,000 a month, right? Like even like probably not, I don't know, like how much, 700, or maybe, is that ideal for your situation? Is that money enough for you to provide your family, your lifestyle, right? Your, of course, business stuff. Back again, you're paying Webflow. If you're if you have like a premium GSAP, you need to also to have paid it domain, right? And that's not even counting your own bill, whatever. And that's, you need to account all of that before you charge your client. It's a business in the end. It's always a business, and yeah, you need to have like a solid strategy on how you want to approach that and how you want to get your client eventually. And that is something that I learned very, very recently, by the way. So yeah.
Okay, so my next question is how do you do that? Say someone's listening to you and they're like, I hear you, I've got to pay Webflow, I've got to pay for domain, I'm paying GSAP, I'm paying for, I don't know, Flow Drive. I've got all these tools,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm
Yeah,
not
all this
covering
is.
I'm not covering my costs. I'm not getting enough clients. Or maybe they're not charging their clients enough. What
Yeah.
advice would you give them?
Yeah, charge them twice. Charge them like however much. You need to kind of like, okay, you need to like kind of have like an average of how much does your business cost per month just to get it running. And of course, you need to account your lifestyle. I mean, your bills, and everything else. And then you kind of have like an average number. Okay, let's just say you live for like $500 per month. I don't know. That's, I mean, for me, if it's like in Indonesia, that's a lot. 500 USD is something kind of like 9 million, and that's probably a lot and enough, depending on your lifestyle, though. Right? With business, and on top of that, at that Webflow cost, that GSAP cost, that Flow Drive, FinSuite, whatever, like all that amount, and then and just doing a basic math, actually, I mean, if you do the math, does it make sense if you charge your client $1,500 to do a full page, and I mean full blown website, like 5 pages, design and dev, and do
Mhm.
that for 2 months? That doesn't make sense for me, right? I mean,
Hey, it's yeah, makes complete sense what you're saying. So, okay,
yeah.
if someone's creative and they're like, yeah, but I don't really want to do this, like I just want to make creative stuff. Listen, if you want to freelance, if you want to pay 20% tax on whatever you earn and whatever, like that's what
Yeah.
you pay in the UK,
Oh
right?
yeah, tax. Yeah, I forgot about tax, but yeah,
Yeah,
your tax.
hey, do
Yeah.
do not forget about tax. Okay, I did last year, and I
Yeah.
got absolutely slammed by HMRC, the
Oh yeah.
government. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
If you're freelancing, you're not freelancing for fun. You're freelancing to accommodate the lifestyle that
Yeah.
you want to live. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you need to charge enough to accommodate that lifestyle. Right now,
Exactly.
that means that you need either clients that are willing to pay that, or
Mm.
more work from the existing clients you have. So think about that. Like, write down what your life costs every month,
Mm-hmm.
add
Right. Right.
20% to that because 20%
Mm-hmm.
is going to be taxed, and
Yep.
then think, okay, how am I going to get that? Now, how do you
Mm.
get that as a freelancer? I think this is an important point to make, is that you can freelance in multiple different ways. I know a
Mm.
freelancer, Harry Dodds. He works for 2 agencies. He's a permalancer, right? So essentially, whenever they get projects, he'll get paid to do those projects, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of freelancing as an individual, but he's attached to these 2 agencies that just give him work consistently. That suits him.
Mm.
He doesn't want to be posting on social. He doesn't necessarily want to get his own clients. He just wants to do the creative work. Now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if you want to just do the creative work, maybe working
Mm-hmm.
in-house for an agency would be even better. Then you get
Oh
paid the
yeah.
whole time. You actually get
Yeah.
to work on big projects, challenging projects, because you won't be able to necessarily get those big projects on your own. You're not going to be working
Yeah.
with Sky and Coca-Cola at the start.
Oh,
No
yeah.
offense.
Yeah.
Then
Exactly.
you might be freelancing and you might be creating content. So there's, for example, like me, I earn a little bit of money doing Webflail. I earn a little bit of money trying to do YouTube. In fact, no,
Mm.
that's a lie. I'm actually not earning any money on YouTube right now, but that's the aim. I'm trying to create content about what I'm making so that other people can learn how to do 3D websites with Spline. But I'm kind of trying to put money and effort into that so that I can grow that. But I think it's just thinking, okay, long term, does this
Yeah.
make
It's a long
sense
game.
for me as a freelancer? And like we said at the start of this episode, you've just got to stick it out. You're probably not going to get it right at the start. You're probably not going to charge enough at the
Absolutely.
start. Okay.
Absolutely.
And if that's the case, maybe you need to get a part-time job working in a cafe while you get good enough at freelancing
Mm.
and learn the
Yep.
skill set of making money in order to provide for your lifestyle. And it might take a little while to do that. So I think it's just really important to say that, there's a lot of people online talking about how big, hey, just got a 20 grand client, whatever. Okay, that's them. Maybe they've got years
That's
of
that.
experience.
Uh,
Maybe they've already worked in an agency and got a great network of contacts. Maybe they're actually just bullshitting. But my point is that
oh.
maybe you need to just take a beat, work out what kind of lifestyle you want to live, and
Yeah.
figure out how to accommodate that, because it's not just start freelancing. Oh, client projects. I throw out my portfolio. Client projects off the chain. I've got so many emails
Yeah.
coming through my little Webflow form on my website. Hey,
No. No. Yeah.
guys, if it was that easy, we'd all be, yachts on the beach and stuff. We're not,
We're not
it's
having this
not.
episode, right?
Yeah,
we
I'm
probably
just
won't
having a
having
nervous breakdown
this.
right now. I've been freelancing for the last 3 months, and this month I've earned £1,000. Last month I
Mm,
earned slightly more than that. The first month I earned 2.5 grand. But my point is that my income has massively fluctuated, and
dude, yeah.
I'm now considering, hey, maybe I want to be kind of in-house for an agency and take freelance projects on the side while I build up my skill set, while I work with
Mm,
people that are better than me, while I work with
mm,
3D motion designers that are teaching me so much. I'm
mm,
considering this stuff too, and so I don't want to
mm,
come across
mm.
preachy. All I'm saying though is that, Bimo, you've made me think, hey, this is important to highlight for any listeners at the end of this episode, that freelancing is not a linear process.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the end of the day, as again, it's a business, and dude, you know what? This 2024 is the quote unquote. I've been making way less than 2023, but I've been the happiest I've been in my entire career because I've
Great.
learned that it's okay. You're not making as much as those fucking posts on Twitter that like have like $100,000 client, or maybe they're having like 5 figure MRR or whatever the fuck that is. It's okay. You're just being you, Jude, and you
Yeah.
are great, right?
As long
You
as you earn enough to accommodate your
enough.
life, you can
Exactly.
freelance. You can make creative shit for a living. How cool is that? Like, I think
How
there's
cool is
this
that?
obsession with like trying to get 10K a month or whatever. It's like, are you
Yeah,
making stuff that you genuinely want to make and working with people you genuinely want to work with? And are you enjoying doing that? Like, if that's the
yeah.
case, who cares how much money
You
you're
do
making? Also, those
really.
people that do those
Yeah.
big posts, are they including tax in that? Are they including how much
Oh yeah.
overheads? No,
Yeah.
I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now, I doubt it. I'm not trying to come
I
across
doubt it.
like jealous. If you genuinely are making that kind of money and you're happy and you're feeling fulfilled and you're able to live the lifestyle you want, good for you. But I'm just
Good for
saying it's
you.
not just about
Exactly.
money, and it's a dangerous game comparing yourself at whatever stage you're at to
Oh,
someone
that's good.
else's stage. That's mainly what I'm trying to emphasize here at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was back then. I was comparing myself to Joseph Berry a lot. really, because I'm a big fan. Who doesn't, right? I
Hmm.
mean, dude has been killing it with Webflow wherever he made a course on awards. That's actually also my kind of entrance into the creative development stuff too. And I was comparing myself to him. Okay,
Mm.
how could he get all of this cool ass client, cool ass award winning stuff and wherever? And I just learned that he's been in an industry for like fucking 20 years.
He's been here
I
long
did not see
enough.
that. Exactly, right? It takes time for Joseph Berry to be Joseph Berry. And it's always, and it will take time too for you to be you, for me to be eventually whatever
Bimo
I will
Tri.
be. Like,
Amen.
exactly, right? I mean, some some often like those things, those like kind of 10 years grinding or maybe whatever. That's something that oftentimes being overlooked. They just showing the stuff that, hey, I'm. They've already making it, quote unquote, right? Like those school ass project or big project, whatever, like that amount of money. Yeah, but they've been in an industry for like 20 years, or even some are even more senior, like 20, 30 years in the industry. Like, yeah, dude. I mean, experience says a lot.
Exactly. I think this kind of the summary of this is like focus on you, focus on the process, and
Mm,
just incrementally improving over time. And the results
yeah,
will take care of themselves if you're
yeah,
dedicated, consistent, and curious. You know, there
yeah,
was this
yeah,
good
yeah.
quote that I heard. I don't know where I heard it. It's like success is the combination of luck, discipline, and skill. And essentially, you just need to, yeah, have a bit of grit, grind it out, keep working, and keep talking to people, keep making, and you'll find your way. Bimo, are you ready for the final question of this podcast? The hardest question
Oh,
I will ask
okay.
you.
What it is? Okay, what's that?
What is your next failure going to be?
Oh, I don't know, dude. I mean, it will be like a mystery, but I don't know. I don't know what's my failure next failure going to be, but I'm guessing will be, I don't know, probably some development stuff. I've been into the like kind of like coding, but yeah, it's hard. It takes time, but I don't know. I really don't know. I really cannot answer it with like a concrete question, a concrete answer.
Of
But
course you know, or you probably try and avoid it. Maybe this is the weird thing about this question. It's like,
oh yeah, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
break my arm tomorrow when I fall down the stairs. It's like, well, you're going to try and avoid that then. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. My next failure, probably. Oh my god. Dude. Ah, I'm going to fail like being, I don't know, active probably in the community. I've been wanting to try that, but I've been failing that multiple times actually. I've been not actually failing it, but more procrastinating it for a long time. Being active in the community. I mean, like being active in the Twitter or Discord channel. I've been always wanting to do that. But
aren't you cooking
yeah.
something with Josh
Oh,
Lowe and
yeah, you
Felix?
posted it. Shit.
Yeah, I think it sounds like
Yeah.
you are doing that. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that was it. It's going to be exciting. I'm doing uh, a little bit branding, a little bit of website and development with Josh and my buddy Felixander Yuan. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a
All
fun
right,
project.
stay tuned for that, guys. Follow
Yeah.
you guys on Twitter. So that's Josh, Felix, and Bimo to see some behind the scenes madness that we talked about a little bit in this episode about the process, asking questions,
Hmm.
discovery, wireframing,
Hmm.
development.
Hmm.
If you guys want to see more of that, keep your eyes peeled.
Hmm.
Bimo Tree, you've been an incredible guest. Thank you so much for coming on Webflail and sharing as vulnerably as you have.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. I'm having way fun actually, and it's worth it. And sorry, you have to waste like a year. But
Hey,
yeah,
it's made it
it's been
even
a blast.
sweeter seeing you here now, so that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And that's a wrap. God, what an episode there with Bimo Tri. He is the man when it comes to doing Webflow GSAP and just generally making incredible editorial style, fashion style websites. And yeah, I think it's fascinating to know how he thinks about a lot of different processes, from animation, looking at trailers for films, and thinking, how can I apply that to his work? So really interesting there. But one of the points that I think is really fascinating that he talked about in this episode is treating your freelancing like a business. You are a business. You're not running a charity. So the key is knowing when to say no. Now, we talk about this all the time on the podcast, and you might say, Jack, don't talk about this again. But I think it's worth repeating. Just knowing how to set boundaries can save you a lot of time, money, stress. Just saying no when you want to set clear boundaries and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this for free. Or clear communication, saying, hey, I'm going to do this change, but I'm not going to do any more changes unless we revise the scope and talk more about money. And that is, I think, a really hard skill to learn, because we're people pleasers in the creative space. We're just so glad to get paid to do creative work. Oh my God, thank you so much for paying me to do creative stuff. I feel so fulfilled and happy doing. Okay, cool, but it's a business. It's a business, and you need to pay your rent. You need to, get your brother a birthday present. Get your mum some flowers. Pay Mr. Taxman. Not as nice to do that, but you still have to do it. And there's various things that cost in life, and you need to make sure that you are aware that you're not running a charity, you're running a business. Repeat after me. You're not running a charity, you're running a business. Okay? Right. Next week, we've got Zena Potter. She was actually going to be this week's episode, but there was a problem with the recording. We're going to have to re-record. Boring, but that's coming next week. Until then, keep on webflailing, webflailers. So.